Hi, I'm Show-ei-mon. On this channel, I share videos where you can carefully follow clothing alteration steps all the way through to the finished result. They are filmed from the actual worker's point of view, so you can check professional hand movements clearly. The videos can be used as training material for those aiming to become professionals. Now, in this video, we will shorten the sleeves of a lined jacket. Here is the before and after. This is a tailoring method used for various items, including jackets for men and women, and also for coats and so on. Acquiring this skill will let you broaden the range of items you can handle. Let's get started. First, we'll check the current condition. Let's check the amount of ease in the lining and the finished line. This jacket has very little ease. This time we'll shorten the sleeve length by 3 centimeters. Let's mark the outer fabric. First, on the line of the inner seam, and on the line of the outer seam as well. Then, mark at equal intervals in between. There isn't much ease in the lining. We could finish it as it is. But having a bit more ease reduces tightness regarding movements such as bending your elbow. This time, let's finish it with more ease than it currently has. First, we'll start unpicking from the sleeve opening. Usually, the seam allowance of the lining and the outer fabric is the same amount. It's simple when they are the same, because you can just align them when sewing them back together. If the seam allowance amounts are different, you either sew them together based on the original ratio, or align them by adjusting the cutting measurements. This will take a bit more work. The unsewing is done. Press with an iron to remove the original crease. The original hem length isn't even. It's common that the hem and seam allowances aren't aligned when unsewn. Let's align this as well in finishing it. Finish it more neatly than before you alter it. This is the most important mindset in alteration. The original hem is 4 centimeters in some places and 3.5 centimeters in others. So let's unify it to 4 centimeters. Take a hem of 4 centimeters from the finished position. Cut the lining as well. Press it out with an iron. We'll also align parts like this. The amount we shorten the lining should be reduced a little to add ease. Cut it at the 2.5 centimeters point from the longest part. Originally, there was no interfacing applied. But since it's a thin, soft fabric and the shape is not stable, let's apply a thin fusible interfacing this time. If your store does a lot of sleeve shortening, it's convenient to prepare fusible interfacing in 5 cm wide strips like this. Since the hem is 4 cm, apply a 5 cm wide interfacing aligned to the fabric edge. It reaches slightly onto the outer side as well. Once the interfacing is applied, fold it along the finished line. Even after shortening the length, the sleeve opening width of this jacket hardly changed. But if the sleeve opening width changes by 7 mm or more before and after shortening when laid flat, it may be better to adjust the width to bring it closer to the original width. However, the length where the sleeve curve becomes natural will also change because you shorten the sleeve. So it doesn't necessarily mean you must match the original sleeve opening width. Adjust it when needed, considering the overall balance of the entire sleeve. Here, it looks like we'll need to add a little width to the hem. It's okay even if the hem side is a bit narrower, since the slip stitching inside is done loosely. The outer fabric won't be pulled very much. Rather, if you add too much width, the hem will bunch up inside, making it look worse. So, we'll add a slightly smaller amount of width, as we don't want to add too much. Rather than here. It looks like it will settle more neatly if we add width while correcting the line on this side. Let's add just a little width. We'll add width to the lining after we add width to the outer fabric. Adjust the width. Try to make the stitching line in a gentle curve. If you're using a fabric that won't leave needle marks, it's okay to start above the finished line. However, if it's too far above, the sleeve opening will warp, and it will look like a penguin. Add width with a natural curve, so that the finished position becomes a straight line. Backstitch the side seam. Press the seam open. Fold the finished line again as well. We'll sew the lining and the outer fabric together. Since we sew them together from the inside, we'll look for the place where the lining was closed before. Usually, it's at the bottom of the sleeve or at the edge of the hem. If it's closed at the bottom of the sleeve, unsew the seam. Pull the sleeve out from there. It will look like this. Like this, align the outer sides and sew them together. Let's pull out the other side as well. When you sew them together, it looks like this. After finishing the sleeve, close it by sewing the lining back together as it was. I'll also explain the method taken when it's closed at the hem. For ones that are closed at the hem, note that there is no seam on the sleeve. Take a look at the hem seam like this. You'll find hand-sewn stitches like this. It's closed here, so unsew this hand-sewn part. It'll make an opening about this size. In most cases, this hem opening is small. It's not big enough to pull the sleeve out and work. I think many people unsew the machine stitching around the opening and work from there. But I open the center back next and pull the sleeve out from there. It's easier to work if the opening for pulling the sleeve out is larger, so let's open it wide. It should be about this much. However, if you open it too wide, it becomes hard to get it under the sewing machine when you sew it back. Let's only unsew it up to where it can fit into the sewing machine. Pull the sleeve out from the center back opening and work on it. After you're finished with the sleeve, pull the body lining out from the small hem opening and sew the center back close again. If you're only pulling out the lining, a small opening won't be a problem. Once you've sewn the center back, close the hem opening by hand stitching. Opening it this way is more intuitive and easier to do. And nothing will be in the way when closing it. Mark the lining for widening at this time as well. Since the lining is sewn all the way around to the hem of the outer fabric, make it fit exactly. Even if it ends up a little larger, it will become the ease, so it's not much of an issue. After pulling the sleeve out, sew it together with the lining. Sew the sleeve opening together while following the seams of the outer fabric and the lining. If it gets twisted at this point, you won't be able to put your arm through when wearing it. Follow the seams carefully, so it doesn't twist. First, sew the lining widening. It looks like it might open up, so sew this side too. Check that it isn't twisted, and then align the outer sides and sew them together. Align this seam as well. Align the raw edges and sew together with a 1 cm seam allowance. Align one seam and baste it. Then align the other seam and sew all the way around. At this point, lightly match the lining and the outer fabric. If the lining is too big, add a bit of ease at the seam. If the lining is too small, add a bit more width. Sew all the way around. It will look like this. Saddle stitch the side seam allowance with a sewing machine. Fold on the outline and align the position. It will look like this. Do the same on the other side. Hand sew the body and the hem together with a saddle stitch. There are many cases when they only have the seam allowance tacked with a machine. But then, the hem will flip up when you put your arm through. It doesn't mean that you have to do it. But I think it's better to saddle stitch the hem and the body together, even if it wasn't done so originally. Start sewing from the hem side. This is to make the knot less noticeable and to avoid putting strain on the outer fabric. As for the outer fabric, pick up only one warp thread of the fabric. If you pick up too much, the fabric will be pulled by the stitches, and the outer part will dent. If it's a thin fabric, even one warp thread may be too much. Pick up only 2 or 3 fibers of the warp thread. To allow some ease, saddle stitch roughly and loosely. Since the hem width is narrower, the outer fabric will sag, but it's fine to stitch it as it is. Before securing the thread, pull the outer fabric sideways and check that there is enough looseness. Pulling it creates looseness, so it also helps with the adjustment when the thread is tight. Finally, knot the thread. Just like this. After saddle stitching, press with an iron to add ease to the lining. Fold it at the original lining position. Like this. After pressing, saddle stitch around the arm area. With the lining eased from the sleeve opening side, lay it along the outer fabric up to around the elbow. Stitch it down at an appropriate position from around the middle of the sleeve to slightly closer to the sleeve opening. This jacket originally didn't have this saddle stitch, so adjust the position yourself. If it originally doesn't have saddle stitches, it's not necessary for you to do it. But the lining tends to come out easily when you put your arm through without it. So I recommend you do it. Finally, let's close the part where we opened the lining. Pull out the center back part through the small hem opening and sew it back. When sewing the lining back together, the thread tends to become tight. So loosen the thread tension. The center back is now sewn. Once it's sewn, close the hem opening by hand stitching. With this, the sewing is complete. Finally, lightly iron from the outside to finish. Let's look at the finished result. We were able to add the ease properly. The inside is neatly settled as well. As I said at the beginning, this tailoring method is used for various items. for both men's and women's jackets, coats, and so on. It will broaden the range of items you can handle, so it's better to learn it properly. So, this time we shortened the sleeves of a lined jacket. Thank you for watching to the end. Please subscribe to the channel as well. This was Show-ei-mon.